I'd like to call to order the Fair Rent Commission for March 11th, and I'd ask everybody to rise and please say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
William Downs, absent. Kelly Hemmler here. Ian Graves.
Here.
Jennifer Broet.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
Paul Janice, I'm never going to get you that. PJ.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, in case of a fire, you can either exit the chambers through the door behind you or to your right, my left, go out the exit and walk away from the building. Okay, approval of minutes. Entertain a motion for special meeting February 15th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve special meeting for February 15th, 2024.
Second.
Any comments, corrections?
No.
Yes, on the second page, under 7, where you've got counselors voted unanimously, it should be commissioners. Okay. Anybody else?
Nope, and good pick.
Okay, so,
Could do a hand vote, right?
yeah. Okay, all in favor of approving as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Special meeting, February 27th. Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve special meeting February 27th, 2024.
Any comments or corrections?
No, we need a second.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Any?
In the title, we should change agenda to minutes.
Okay. Anything else?
I didn't see anything else.
All right. All in favor to approve as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Okay. We're here for a hearing on a complaint, and before we start, we realize that there may be a large amount of evidence and testimony offered at this hearing. The complainant will present first, followed by commissioners' questions. The chair will ask the respondent to present, and again, followed by commissioners' questions. Both parties will have time for rebuttal. Lastly, to present will be our investigator. The commission is bound by the criteria of its regulations. Please try to keep your comments on the complaint focused on the criteria that we must consider. If you have submitted written comments, there's no need for them to be read out loud. They are part of the record and as the testimony that we are going to be hearing, and will be given equal consideration on our deliberations. Please keep in mind that this is a formal hearing and comments from the audience are not appropriate and do not do a disservice to those that have the floor. The rules of hearing require that no direct debate between the audience members and the parties. Any questions or comments must be addressed through the chair. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation in making this process as efficient and painless as possible. Okay, so the complainant, Christy Hanna, could you please come up? Take a seat. Make sure there's a little red light on the microphone.
Yep.
Okay. All right. In accordance with the Connecticut State General Statute, Section 1-5, 2022, the chair should start by asking the witnesses and the attorneys. We don't have any.
I actually, my counselor's supposed to be here today. She's 5 minutes late.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I am going to swear you in.
Okay.
Okay. So I need you to please raise your right hand and state your full name and address for the record.
Christy Hanna, 606 Gatewood Drive, Enfield, Connecticut.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have the floor, so tell us why you're here.
There's a few things that,
Before you start, okay? We do have photos that you've sent to Cindy. Do you want to show, just let us know when you want them shown so that we can see them, okay?
okay.
All right, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. I've had numerous things. Like I said, I don't know what you guys can actually help with. I presented a couple different things to you guys, so I'm not sure. We'll
So what
start
we-
with the window. Okay.
Start with what you wrote in your complaint.
Okay, so we'll start with the window. The window, I've asked since they've bought in the place, which was like 2.5 years ago now, to fix the window. Basically, what's going on is that there's condensation that, sorry. So there's condensation that like builds up from the bottom windowsill all the way up to like the middle of the window. And you can wipe it down 1,000,000 times. I've done that. And all it does is start growing black and green mold around the casing of the window and like all on the windowsill. Also, the window has leaked. Since this meeting, or, I contacted you guys, they've had people trying to fix it. So the guys that came out the other day, they didn't really do a great job because the condensation's still coming back. And that's what the problem I'm having is it's growing mold in my house.
Anything else?
Not for the window, no.
You've got the floor. Tell us why you're here. You said there's a few things.
Yes, so the next thing I wanted to bring up is that they charge for sewage and trash. I know that landlords can do that, but how they go about it is kind of strange. They tell you it's allocated by the people that are in your apartment and your size of your apartment, but then, so basically they give you a total and a chart, like a total and a date to pay it and nothing else. Like nothing like, like if you get an Eversource bill, it'll like give you a breakdown. There's no breakdown on it. It just gives you a total and that's it. Pay this, that's basically. And one time I tried to split my rent and that away from each other to pay it separately because I'm on a budget every single month. And they took it out of my rent, the sewage and the trash, because I paid the rent and not the sewage and the trash. I was going to pay it, like I said, separately in 2 different times. And they took it out and made my rent late. So I was forced to have to pay the sewage and all of it together.
Okay.
So, and then the other thing that I've had a problem with is like, now they're doing the window, but I've asked for that for a while, and I just feel like they did it now because I contacted you guys, if you get what I mean.
Okay, anything else?
And then also, I had an issue back in April going into May with a bed bug. We found one in my house, and I had contacted Kathy right away and told actually an email that Sunday because I have a bug phobia, so I was freaking out. And she contacted me at 9:45, 10 o'clock in the morning the next morning through email, and then contacted me through a voicemail just stating that they were going to get somebody to come out and do extermination, and that they were going to set Bremen up to come out and look. So I said, okay. I asked them to look around the whole building, and I kind of didn't get a straight answer about that. They kind of told me, oh, they did, but I never really seen any of that happen. I never heard from anybody that they went into, because I talked to neighbors, so nobody ever told me they went in and looked at anything. So basically, I had when all this was going on, I had to throw so much stuff away, my kids' toys, because Bremen, when they came out, they told me that they could not treat anything. of my kids' toys. So there was like so much stuff I had to throw out. And the actual maintenance guy, he's not here tonight, but he had to help me because I did several trips back and forth to the trash, throwing things away. And so after all that happened, that was 3.5 weeks, almost a month before they even had Bremen come out to do the extermination. When the guy came out that day, he belittled me and the maintenance guy and basically was yelling and screaming at me in my house, telling me, oh, this isn't the way he wanted it. And there was a whole bunch of stuff going on that day. So basically, they left and didn't do the treatment, and I had to find somebody to come out, and I had to call corporate and basically tell them, do it or else.
Okay, anything else?
That's basically why I'm here.
Okay. You have nothing else you want to?
I just feel like when I asked to like have them negotiate something with my rent, my counselor's been helping me a lot with this whole problem. And she kind of texted or emailed my counselor back telling my counselor, oh, well, Eagle Rock's not going to negotiate with the rent. That basically it was a courtesy to do the treatment for me.
Okay. All right. We're going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Jen, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to clarify when Brahmin wouldn't come out and Christy said she called another company. Did Christy have to pay that or did the landlord?
No, they paid for it.
Okay. That's the only question I had.
Okay, thank you. Ian?
Can I go last?
Okay,
That's all right.
sure. Kelly?
No, Jen asked the question.
Okay. Paul?
I'm sorry. The mold that you indicated was growing on the window, was that inside the window between the two panes, or was it on the surface
It's
of the
a
window toward
one-pane
you?
window. It's like a bay window, and it's literally one pane of glass. There's not two. I know what you're talking about, but it's not. It's one pane of glass.
So the moisture was forming on the inside.
inside.
You could touch it and rub it off.
Yep.
And if you didn't, mold or mildew
Yep.
would form. Okay.
It happens every day. Actually, I came out because, like I said, the guys were trying to fix it the other day, and I came out the next morning. It was on the window again.
Okay.
Ian?
You said they've been in to fix the window. Are they replacing it? Are they?
No, they're
Redoing
literally
paint
all
or-
they did is rip the top half off. It's actually rotted behind the picture I actually sent you of them
Do
fixing
you want
it.
that picture?
Yeah, you can pull it up.
Thank you.
It's rotted. I actually showed the maintenance guy, and he agreed it was rotted.
If you would, do you remember which folder had those pictures in it?
I don't know.
I think, let me go back up.
I sent a lot of
Yeah,
pictures. I'm
bear
not
with me
sure.
for a minute. Oh, that was bed bug.
I think it was one of the bottom two.
There we go.
Be patient with
Yep, there's mold right there.
That's on your blinds on that
The
window?
blinds, and then in other photos, it's like all on the bottom of the. That's when the roof fell in after the leak. They fixed that, but it's on the outside. It's all rotted, so it's just gonna go back and do it again.
Can I ask you a question? This picture is a picture taken
Of the
inside?
inside, yep.
Inside the room over that window?
Yes.
Okay.
Was that fixed quickly?
No.
Is it currently fixed?
Yes.
I just want to see all the pictures, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to ask a timeline question?
Yes.
What is the timeline? Like the ceiling fell in, and then 3 days later it was fixed. A month
That was like
later.
6 months.
Okay. Okay.
The question comes to mind is, why did the ceiling fall in?
Because the window around the top, it's rotted, so the water's like literally running the window track and it's getting
Okay,
inside.
so this is in your living room?
Yep.
area. Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
okay.
Because all I can see is this white box and a.
That's where
Like
I was
walls.
trying to catch the water.
No,
so
no,
it didn't go all
I'm
over
trying to
the
figure out
furniture.
where it was in relationship in the apartment. That's
Yeah, where is the window compared to this picture?
okay.
What do you mean?
Where, like, you are sitting here taking that picture.
The window, where you see that black, that's
Yep.
where the blind is.
That's the blind. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I have a black curtain hung up.
Now, the date above here looks like it's July 3rd, 23.
Yep.
Okay. It's obviously been fixed since then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else you want to share with us?
No, that was the issues.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to take a seat, and we're going to hear from you, Rob. All right.
Council had raised her hand at some point.
Okay, please raise your right hand and fully state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Kathy Dyer, and my residential address, or my
It-
gateway?
Residential,
Okay, that's no
please.
problem. 579 Center Street, Manchester, Connecticut,
Okay.
06040.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm that, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Make sure the light is on,
Yep.
okay, and bringing that a little closer to you, because this is being recorded.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. All right. So,
Okay, I have the complaint in front of me. One of the things I thought we were going to be talking more about rent concession and less about, but I sent details in about maintenance. So we, Eagle Rock, purchased the Countrywood community in January 2022. So we took over. So some of the things we're talking about are over a span of that time. And then I have submitted all the service service records for 606 in the what I sent you before, one of the PDFs. And it shows, because one of the comments here is that, the other reason for rent reductions and so forth is that nothing was ever done to her apartment over the course of the time. So we've had the apartment for 2 years. So I submitted those, and then every update we've done to the apartment and the fixes and so forth. So all that's part of the record I sent to you. Okay.
okay.
And then the conditions of the apartment, the same thing. That was part of that, to show that there seemed that there was an indication that the condition of the apartment was substandard and it wasn't safe. And so everything I submitted, I'd asked you to review, because we don't agree that that's the case. Okay. And then in section 3, I thought that's most of our talk tonight was about the concern with the amount of rent that was the increase. So what I did go back and to look at fair market value with where the price of what we're asking for rent now. I submitted December, we had to move in January, and the value of the apartments on those, since on the documents, it's like $1,520 and $1,575. And the current rent that we've asked for 606 is $1,329. So it shows, I just wanted to show an indication of where, even though we do have to make our increases, that we're still well under market. And also in the month of December, when we did the increases and the rental offers, there were 7 residents that were offered that were given increases, the same style of Miss Hannah, the A2 style, and everybody received the 14% increase request.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you
No, go
to
ahead.
speak
Yeah.
about this window issue.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So there's been a couple things in 2023. It was there was water that went in and repair was done to her home. There wasn't any evidence of discoloration after that time. And with the service requests and when you go through
I have here when that occurred. And then since then, our team wasn't made aware that there was any kind of discoloration. And when we have recently gone in, and our service manager, what he did, he actually has cut out a section of sheetrock above the window on the interior. And he did a review and examination, wiped down, and then he has since replaced the sheetrock, sealed everything. He's been monitoring, and there is no discoloration. He did at that time see that there appears to be maybe a seal is cracked, and that's why there's some condensation. So we have an active plan now to replace that glass to seal that. The next thing is not only internal but external. We saw that the casing outside that the bay window sits on appears to be rotted. So we had the contractor come in, and I have the dates in here for you, and they took it out, put back, and did a repair, but it's still not appropriate. So we have a pending repair open on that window right now, and it's last in your packet when you look at it. When maintenance went in the first time, when Miss Hannah said that, there's something she sees, we need to look, there was no evidence that there was any interior leaking happening into the apartment. And this was here in February, okay? And then from there, like I said, he removed the sheetrock, he reinstalled everything, repaired it, monitored after it, and that repair is staying. Okay, and that's in her living room, where we talked about her living room. The contractor will be coming back this week is to do the rework, because the repair they did on the outside, our maintenance has said it's not correct. And so it's being restripped and redone, and then it'll be tested to make sure that everything's been replaced. The window itself, we have to order that as another one, but that'll be the next plan, and we'll replace that so there'll be no condensation that goes through. It's because the seal was broken. So that's that part for the window, if that helps.
Okay, and the bed bug issue.
Bed bug in May, and I don't know how bed bug has to do with the rent, but we talk about it. So when we were informed that there was, we did bring in Brayman, who is an exterminator, certified exterminator. What we had envisioned when our maintenance went to the apartment, we were shown a jar that had one bug in it. It was identified by them as a bed bug. There wasn't any other evidence of bed bugs found during discovery in the apartment. All of the other surrounding apartments and upper apartments were inspected in the building, and there was no other evidence of bed bug infestation. Brayman was the first one brought in. They came in, they did customer education, and then scheduled to bring in a tech to do the job. We decided to go straight to the heat treatment, which is 1 day, the best, in consideration for the resident and the resident's child who had breathing, and I believe also the resident has breathing issues, so we didn't do chemical in 2 days and everything, went straight for that. When Brayman's team arrived, there seemed to be a disconnect between Brayman's customer service and the technician that came. And that's where Ms. Hannah alluded to, well, the person said you didn't prepare right or whatever. But at that point, everything was stopped because there was no confidence in moving forward. As far as, taking things out or things being damaged, I don't know how that would occur, but that's not for me. Then Ms. Hannah did originally tell us she did some investigation with a company out of Ellington, Bed Bug Busters. So we reached out to them. They came out, they gave us a quote, and we proceeded with the heat treatment. And it was completed, and we did pay for that. The comment we made about it being something that we did as a courtesy, every lease, and I provided all 3 of the leases that Ms. Hannah has had on this apartment. When you read the bedbug addendum, anytime an occurrence happens, we do require the residents are responsible for payment of the treatment and remediation. But we felt in this case that we wanted to do the courtesy, and we paid it. And I have the invoice if you'd like it and so forth as part of that. Okay. Now, as far as the increase itself, we don't negotiate rent, and the reason we don't is then based on fair housing. So, for instance, the 6 other residents that had a renewal at the same time, how would it be fair if we made a concession for one and not the others? So that's the only thing I would, like to bring up is that I don't know how you'll make that decision because it really, the rent doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the apartment, which I believe we've shown, and it doesn't have anything to do with what happened in May with extermination.
Okay.
Okay?
Jen, you have any questions?
This time.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
I have a question. Can you talk about the rent and the utilities? There doesn't seem to be much transparency, so what is the reason for that? And is there anything you could do to change
And
that?
I'd ask, I'm going to have to go back and ask for more information about how the sewer trash allocation is done. That's done by a different division and layout, and I don't have that with me. I wasn't prepared. I don't have that with me, but we can get that to you, and I'll get the right people to talk about how that is. What we bill is we bill a $5 administration fee, and then there's an allocation for trash, and there's an allocation for sewer. Those 3 items show on the ledger each month, and you'll see it on the ledger I provided to you, how it's broken out. As far as the technical allocation, for that information, I'll have to get that back to the council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob?
Did you want to have any of the documents that you sent in displayed? Because this will be the first time that
Okay.
anybody else up here on the
Alright.
panel has seen those. If you would
Oh,
like to
you
review
see.
those, I can bring those up.
So let's see, we have the service request issue. The main document I sent to you, I would like to point out, if we can, I don't know if we can bring that up. Otherwise, I have it on my phone. And that is the improvements that we've done on the apartment. That was on the email I sent you, one of those, or the first, you probably the document, the one printed, I
Hang
don't
on, let
have
me
it
grab the
printed
right
here.
folder here.
Let me see what
What's that,
would have been in the first email I sent, I think, but here.
No, that's a Board of Ed.
What row?
Uh-oh.
I have slightly better eyes.
I have my phone here.
I
I
see
don't
it
know
now.
if you want me to read
No,
it into the
hold on.
record.
We're having some technical.
It is
There we go.
there. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can
It's the
either read it
operator.
into the record, but you'll have it
All right.
later.
Which one did you want me to open?
I don't know what
Service
the
report?
name of it is. I have, is it Service Maintenance Records, one from
Okay.
January 22 to March 2024. No, not that one.
So this is one of 22 service record requests that you submitted.
That's every service request we've done on the apartment. There was another one that was just, it should be labeled service maintenance records. It's just it's bullet point that talks. So, that one. I think that's probably it, right? So is the first thing on that one say, is this the apartment?
Okay, there you go.
It might be that one.
So this is the one where you spoke to the rent increase,
Okay, correct.
market
So
rent
that's rent
increases
increase. But then at the bottom, what's the next
comparables,
thing?
and then
B
this is your list of, there we go.
That
Okay.
right there. That's the list of things that we've done to the apartment.
Just
because-
since Eagle Rock's taken over.
No, since we've taken over, correct.
Okay.
Because when we took it over, and I'll try to do this, I met Miss Hannah at her first renewal with us, and that would have been in 2022. And when she came into my office, we had a nice meeting, and she told me how she felt that her apartment was in disrepair, that there, were a lot of things done. She was promised things by the previous owner. And so I said to her, did she have anything in writing? She didn't, but I said, okay. So what we do is I'm going to have my maintenance supervisor come over, and we're going to go through every item that you mentioned, and then we're going to see, and if it needs servicing, we're going to do replacements. And that's how we started. And that's the first ones you see there. So in 2022, then we started with Let's see, we replaced her dishwasher. And then her bedroom AC, and that was on 7/18/22. On June 10th, 2022, the bedroom AC unit, we replaced the AC unit, so cleaned out and gave her another AC unit. She also then had evidence on her kitchen flooring that looked like old and aged, and there was very old linoleum in the apartment. So I had him go in as our expert, and we replaced her kitchen flooring and her bathroom flooring, and that was done at that time frame too. And we replaced it with the renovation product we used, which is vinyl plank flooring. Okay, and then also, then in her building, there was an unrelated but a separate, I hit too many things here. There was a problem with heating, and it was a boiler issue in the basement that was fixed. So it was immediate, affected the building, not only Miss Hannah's apartment. In January 18th of 2023, we replaced her bathroom faucet. We had a service request, so we replaced the faucet. In the sink area in January, at the same time, we also, in the kitchen area, replaced all the washers and so forth, so everything would be secure. Her window I believe it was her main window, not her bedroom window, was off track. So we put things back in track and replaced channel units at that time, and that was March 23. The extermination treatment we have already talked about. Her air conditioner in her bedroom area then was also cleaned and put back in place. It didn't have to be replaced. There was a report on that. Her kitchen stove was replaced January 9th of this year. It was an aged stove, and we found out we had one that was 1 year old, and we put in a new stove for her then as well. At this time, then in February, she told us again she felt there was a problem with her flooring in the foyer. At our first investigation, we didn't find anything. Second time we went back, it looked like the linoleum is aging more. So here in February 9th, we replaced her foyer then also with the plank vinyl to match the rest that we did before. And then today we talked about the fixing and the sheetrock and so forth. So that's a high level of maintenance. We did do other maintenance, but you have those. So she did receive updates to her apartment during this time frame.
Okay. Can you
Yes.
can you tell me so the ceiling in the living room over the window?
It's actually like the wall, right? You have the window, and then it's the sheetrock right above the.
The sheetrock above.
Window.
So if the window is leaking,
It was not leaking now. When we went in now, it was not leaking, but there was a discoloration, and she was uncomfortable with what she saw, so I had maintenance cut out the sheetrock and do investigation. And we didn't find any water and anything like that, and then he placed back the sheetrock.
in one of the pictures that we were looking at, it looked as if there was ceiling and wall damage above the window,
And
which
I
she
don't
alleged
know
was from the window,
what year
but
that was from.
Okay.
I think that was from 2023
I believe so.
and not the current, correct.
So would that have been more indicative of a roof problem than a window problem? Because water doesn't leak up.
It's not a roof. The way
Gutters?
the bay window's designed and the way originally water off the roof, it was a large amount that happened like in '22, and the gutters were clogged. And then we didn't know Countrywood had not cleaned the gutters. And so we had to get up and get the gutters cleaned out, and that's what caused the water initially into her apartment.
Okay.
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 And that was back in '22.
You indicated that so there's a window that's being repaired.
Correct, in her living room.
Is that a thermopane window, or is it truly a single pane?
It is thermal because the seal's breaking.
Seal's
and that's
broken,
what's
okay, so it's a
causing it.
thermopane window. Okay, so the condensate and the stuff we're seeing, there is some condensate forming on the inside, but
Yep.
there's also the discoloration in between the two panes.
And there's no discoloration anymore in between the panes. There's no discoloration between panes. The discoloration was like above where the window attached to the sheetrock, is what I understand where the discoloration was.
Okay. The bed bug situation,
Yes?
One of the pictures that we have in evidence, which the commission can see, is how was the bed bug problem presented to Eagle Rock? Was the bed bug presented in the form of a jar brought to you with a bed bug in it, or did you go to the apartment on a bed bug complaint and discovered them?
We met the resident at her apartment, and she had a jar with the bed bug in it, and that's how we were presented with it.
But on inspection by the experts, there were no bed bugs found in that apartment?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And none in the neighboring apartments either?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Ian?
Can I ask if this is regular maintenance?
Is this a normal amount of maintenance? Like of the other, was it another 7 units? Have
No,
they had?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You have a total of 8 units of the same design, I believe, or was it 7 of the same design?
On the renewal, for the renewal?
In the whole, is this a normal amount of maintenance
Yes,
for
we
your
have
area?
Yeah, we have 208 apartment homes in our community, 5 different kinds of floor plans.
But the floor plan that match, is this a normal amount, like has every other?
There's like 22 of these, yes.
But is this amount of maintenance, this amount of updating, is this the normal?
It really depends. It's hard to normal because when we took over an aged community that didn't have, but it's not indicative we have, when somebody calls, I didn't analyze every single one we have, but my answer to you is that it's that we don't seem to have this many in the other ones, but we take every one serious, whatever, resident has, and address it as soon as they do. So I don't. But the apartment as it shows, it's in really great shape, so,
There was a question about how long the hole in the ceiling wall area was there. How long was it there?
Which hole?
There's by the window, there's the picture with the black curtain.
Can you show me? I don't know.
Can we bring that picture up?
Yeah, I don't.
There's the one with the rubbish bin collecting water.
And that might have been if that was the original, it happened in 2022.
Oh, yep, and then the third one in, yeah. Do we know how long the complainant said it seemed to have been around it was there for a while?
And that I couldn't answer at this moment.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. I can go through what I have here as far as the service, when we did service. So the exterior building gutter said it happened, the open date was 3/31/22. So that would have been just after we took over. And what's described on here, for a year and a half, I've been woke up by rain because water goes off the clogged gutter and into. And that's where I talked about we discovered that the guttering systems were completely clogged. So we took action to have those. Mountain View came in and took out that was the source of that happening at that time frame. So then it had to be a repair. I would have no knowledge of what her window was like, before we took over, if it was something existing. But we found that that was definitely the clog, the water, and that with the amount of water that came off went against that bay window, and the water went into her apartment. Action was taken to fix it at that time, so I'm just reading here what she had. That then 519 went. It looks like 519. They went up in the gutter again, so they went up twice. They removed leaves that were clogged, also in the downspout. The water can freely move when it isn't clogged, so it goes down through the guttering system. Then it doesn't go down into the frame of these apartments. And that was and the record is in yours, so it's open and closed in that detail.
And that was 19 of May, you said.
This happened, this happened in 2022.
Okay.
So when they initialed in, they went in, they did guttering, and then they went back for an additional time on guttering.
But this hole here is from July of 23.
I don't know, I don't know when exactly that hole, I'm not
Well, that's what
familiar with the picture,
Are
so
we
I'm
believing the
not.
timestamps?
I think that, I don't know if that picture has a timestamp or not, I don't know.
It has one at the top. I believe it's 11:24 p.m. and then July 3, 2023.
Fine, so that'd be something.
Which would be a
different.
year and a bit after the 2022
Let's see what
May
happened.
gutter
23.
situation, I believe.
So I'm into 23 now. Just a moment, please.
Can you click back to the update document? Yeah, thank you.
I don't see a service request for May or damage being reported, anything being reported in May, because I have everything that was reported.
I guess I just want to see the service request and damage for
Oh,
all
yeah,
the hole in the
there-
wall.
yeah,
Like
I-
when was it reported? How long was there a hole in Miss Hannah's ceiling wall, whatever that you want to call that section of the house above the
No,
window?
I mean, I can re-review to look, but I pulled everything, you know, I mean, I individually pulled every service request. I'm not showing a service request in that July 23, you said?
That's what the timestamp. I just want to know how.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't have anything around that time frame.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Jen, do you have any questions now?
I do. In Miss Hannah's complaint, she did state that she reported a leak in her window in January of 2022, and then says that the date on that work order was changed to January of 23. In the list of work orders, I didn't see anything for either of those dates for a window leak. And then additionally, following Ian's questions, where is there a work order for that ceiling, whether it was in July of 23 or earlier or later? There doesn't appear to be a service record repairing that ceiling.
Once a service request is put in our system, it can't be deleted. I also did not find like a January where it's referenced in here, and I see that she did reference that something was changed, but I have no record of it in the system. And there, as far as like open date, we would have the open transaction date, and when you change a date in our system, it shows that a date's been modified, and I don't have anything like that in our manager system.
Do you have any work orders for repairing that ceiling?
That it occurred. That's what I mean, so.
But at any time, do you have a record for that ceiling?
Did everything in our computer for her, referencing her apartment.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. You said you took over the property in January of
Correct,
2022.
And
Do
I
you
became
rem-
an employee in February.
Okay, so do you have an exact date in January when that takeover happened?
January 1st. We bought
January
the
1st,
community and
okay.
took it over financially in December
Okay.
21.
All right, no, I'm just
20.
seeing if
Yep.
maybe there was a lapse between previous
Yeah.
and current, so that's why I'm asking that
And
question.
then also to put in the record, I'll let you know, our maintenance supervisor, he's been with the community 27 years.
So he's
So
pretty familiar with
He's
the
very
property.
familiar, so he knows everything about the property, and
Okay.
he knows everything about this apartment, but all of it, so, and he joined us, and he's still with us.
Okay.
I can stop scrolling, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, you're fine.
Jen, are you seeing these as we scroll through them?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay. No.
And those are everything that I have that I pulled out of the computer that we have record on, so.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask Ms. Hannah to come back up and
That's right.
give her rebuttal. All right. Oh, you split the screen. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on back up. Would you like to add anything to what you just heard?
I'm
And-
kind of upset right now. I don't know if I want to say anything because I'm going to say all the wrong things right now, and I'm trying not to.
Okay, take a breath.
I would like if my counselor can.
She can sit up here
speak
with
on
you.
my behalf, please. She knows everything that's been going on.
She doesn't have to be. She's talking for her.
Yeah, but I don't think she's
No.
a lawyer.
She's not a lawyer, but she's speaking on behalf. So whatever she says is basically her testimony. So do you understand what I just said? Okay, so whatever you say is as if Ms. Hannah is saying it. Okay?
So I can say that,
I need your name and address for the record, please.
okay, my name is Colleen Dobo, and my address is 11 Waltz Hill in Bloomfield. I've been Christy's counselor. I see her by telehealth, so I see her apartment.
Okay.
The issue with the problem in the ceiling, I understand that there's no order demonstrating that it was completed. Christy has reported to me as long ago as probably 6 months that the occurrence happened, that a work order was put in by her before I knew her, and it wasn't fixed, and then was changed by another person to a different date. So I can report that. I can report also on concerns about the timeline with the bed bug treatment, if I can have an opportunity to do that.
You're speaking for her.
Okay. So Christy contacted Ms. Dyer on April 29th to report bed bugs in her apartment. She also reached out to me because she was very distressed. On May 1st, a letter from Christy's son's pediatrician was submitted to Ms. Dyer stating that he could not be exposed to pesticide treatment. Christy was demonstrating or experiencing bed bug bites that she was showing to me when I was meeting with her. Through the course of the following week, on May 9th, I sent a letter to Ms. Dyer.
Okay, and we do know there was a bed bug issue. I'm going to
Okay.
stop you there. And the bed bug issue has been taken care of and paid for by the landlord. So I understand she was upset. It's very upsetting when that happens. So we need to move on from the bed bug issue because that's been resolved by the landlord. So I know there was a time lapse, but there was a miscommunication, I'm going to say, between the original company and their technician, and the technician was not a very nice person. He did not do the treatment. Another company came in and did do the treatment. Is that correct? And
That
it's
is
been
correct.
resolved. So
Yes.
that issue's been resolved, okay?
So
And
the
she never had to
ongoing
pay for it.
the ongoing implications from that is that Christy did not have access to her apartment for about a week. And at that time, she didn't have money, and she had to find a hotel room for her 2 children and her dog. And I did help her to do that because she reached out to me at 8 o'clock at night on May 17th or 18th with her children in the car and nowhere to go. And that was really the reason for the request for a concession in the rent for the expenses she incurred, which she took out of savings that she had been using to pay her rent.
Okay, there was never anything discussed in the complaint about that. So I don't understand why she was out of her apartment for a week. That's something, if she chose to leave the chose to leave the apartment, that was her choice. It wasn't like they forced her out.
So she prepared and moved all of her items and cleaned all of her items for the first bed bug treatment people to come on, I believe, May 18th. All of her items were out of the apartment. That treatment did not occur until May 25th. So between the 17th and the 25th, she was in an apartment because she had none of her belongings and all of her things laundered. And she couldn't use her kitchen. All of her things were packed up, essentially.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That's all I can speak to.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question, and it's not derogatory in any way. I want you to know that. Do you have any housing subsidies?
No.
So housing, you have no vouchers from housing?
Nope.
Okay. The reason I saw in your complaint was that it says how much was your last rent increase, and it said 141 to 183. So that's what I was asking, if you had any housing subsidy.
Oh, the original owner had it at 1,005, and then when they, I had still time when they had bought the place on that original lease with the original owner, and then when I signed a lease with them, they went up to 1146.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to ask Eagle Rock to come back up. We're going to do it again. We're just going to let her calm down.
Just have a couple rebuttals.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
So the, with regards to the bed bugs, and, you know, the handling of it and so forth, and that's why you have the copies of the leases and everything. There really wasn't any reason for the resident to leave the apartment. There was instructions given by Brayman on how to prepare, and then from there, when they came and it didn't occur, there wasn't a reason she couldn't have stayed in her apartment. She did make a personal choice that everybody can make for themselves to go to a hotel. But it isn't part of the lease or anything like that that we would compensate for that. And so I just, you know, about that whole thing, it was handled in an expeditious manner. It was paid for. And then another thing I noted is that happened in May, and then we didn't receive any indication that they were not satisfied with it, and we were presented them with options. They wanted rent concession, they provided receipts and said they wanted to be paid, but the incident happened in May, and then we were approached for payment in September. And it coincided with the September letter that was sent to them, the resident, on for lease renewal and the increase.
Okay. All right, any questions? Jen?
If I could just ask one question about the treatment, the bed bug treatment. So it was reported on April 29th, yet the first treatment that was scheduled wasn't until May 18th. Is it typical to go almost 3 weeks between the discovery of bed bugs and having a treatment done?
It was reported to me actually May 1st. And we brought Brayman in right away to do the evaluation. So, I mean, they came like May 3rd, I think was the time that they came. They had to do investigation to find and figure out. Then it was training with the resident, and then it was scheduled. So it wasn't like a delay. We had the vendor there the very next day to come and evaluate the situation and start customer education.
Okay.
And then I did the last rebuttal, not a rebuttal, but just the comment. So on the complaint form on the second section. And this comes back to the rent increase, because I know it's been a lot about the rent increase. So what the figures that are here are accurate. So where we look here is that the first rent increase, that was the one that happened in 2023, or 22 to 23, and it was $141. So she started at $1146, we did that. And then the second evaluation that just happened, that was a 14% increase, came off of that, and then her rent is the $1329 we asked for. So these rent numbers are correct, and it was a 14% increase the year before, and then this last one was 14%.
Okay,
Just FYI, if that.
thank you. Any questions? Go ahead.
Do you know what kind of treatment was ultimately used?
I do. It was the thermal. It was
Thermal
the
treatment.
highest, yeah.
So-
And it was one day. It takes, like, they come in, they do it, and then within 4 hours, you're returned to your apartment,
Okay.
I think.
No chemicals were used,
Let me see, too. I
and it was a
have
heat
that.
treatment. Yeah.
And if you want that, I'll send you the invoice. It was like $2,500 or something like that for the payment of that, and that's incidental. We cared about her son's health. That was presented to me. We knew that we wouldn't do a treatment that was chemicalized. The resident was provided with everything that was going to be part of that treatment, so they would know, for the safety of everybody in that home, that's presented to everyone.
And that inspection on the 3rd of May
That's correct.
showed that there was nothing in the apartment, but you scheduled a treatment anyways.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. There was a question for Ms. Hannah, so we're going to ask
Okay.
her to come back up. Thanks. I'm sorry.
You had mentioned about having to throw out a bunch of belongings. What precipitated that?
When Bremen came out, the guy had said that he couldn't treat certain things and I would have to throw them away. Actually, I was looking at my kids telling them that, and my son was crying. Do I throw my toys away?
And that was on the 3rd? That was the first time they were there for the education, that was for the
It was on
treatment.
the 20th.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jen?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the people from Bremen suggested to you that the type of treatment that they were doing would require you to throw belongings away.
Yeah, he said that they would melt.
He did. Okay.
Okay.
And do you have the paperwork? Do you still have the paperwork that Bremen provided for the treatment plan?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I
Thank-
probably have it in my email somewhere, but I'd have to search for it.
And the company that ultimately treated didn't end up being Bremen, correct?
No, it was Ellington Management Bed Bug Busters.
Okay. Thank you.
Did they suggest throwing everything
Nope,
up?
he actually told me none of my stuff had to be thrown away, and that made me cry and my kids cry.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Go ahead.
Can I say one more thing? Just to let you know, I've looked up bed bug laws and tenants rates and responsibilities, and it does say that a landlord has to have treatment done within 5 days. And that was on the General Assembly, Connecticut.gov.
The hole in the wall, hole in the ceiling, how long was that there? Since we can't seem to find a service order of when it was fixed or what have you. The timestamp was from July of 23, but it's
That's when it happened.
Okay.
And it didn't get fixed until like maybe like 3 weeks ago now.
okay. And do you have a time-stamped picture or anything to back it up, evidence, as it were?
I would have to search through my photos with that. I thought I had sent all that stuff.
Okay.
There was a lot of pictures I sent you guys, so.
I will scroll through some more if that's all right with the chair.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not gonna be that easy. That's the,
Outside.
yep, these all outside.
This whole photo she just sent
This is all
the other day,
outside.
so this is all outside.
Okay.
I think that is also. Yeah. No,
This
it's
is all
inside
the
there. You go.
inside stuff. Can I have the keyboard?
Slightly.
We have technical difficulties.
Scroll through as a carousel. Okay, that makes it less easy. So that's that one.
So that same photo exists up above, and that's where I saw the arrows.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry. This picture that just went away.
Oh, okay, okay. That one.
Next one.
Next one. Down one. That one.
Go to the photos in the top half because that's the unzipped ones.
Where am I going?
So X out, if you go back to the main one,
Oh, yep.
the top ones, those 6.
No.
The-
They're just zipped
There you go.
that one.
This one.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Ah, thank you, Alex. Sorry.
The zip files.
I apologize.
I just copied the zip drive as is.
Okay. Where was he 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, what was
The condition with the ceiling, with the hole, my understanding from you is that lasted for months?
Yep.
Okay.
These are all, oh, what was that one? Oh, I think I'm gonna, and this is the window repair from
Yeah,
recently?
you can see the huge gap that's not even butted up with the side of the building, which all of the other ones, they're literally flush with the building.
Oh, because that siding with the mesh graph paper looking stuff is,
What was that?
the siding has been replaced though.
No, that's
Yeah.
just the paper underneath. That's
Yeah.
all that. And they put the the wood siding back up. I don't know if it was the same boards or not.
Okay. Okay. And this is what you were this is from the work order that was not done up to maintenance, and now as I recall, there was a thing about the maintenance not liking how well it was done and wanting it to come back. And that is coming back later this month, weather dependent, I believe I read.
Yes.
Okay. So it is, you were saying that this hole in the ceiling wall area was there for a period of months. Okay. And that's something that counselors seem to also say, I believe. And there was no work order that we can find for it. So, but that hole is no longer there.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
One final.
Okay.
So I can speak from here if it's.
No, you need to come, no.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna bring Eagle Rock back up. No, she has to speak into the microphone.
I know.
Yeah.
There's only one.
So as far
uh,
as.
Microphone. That's why, yeah.
It's Kathy again. Yeah, as far as a hole in her ceiling for 3 months, it wouldn't have existed. I mean, I'm the community manager there. I know all the activities. If we did more research to look, but there wasn't a hole in her ceiling for 3 months, and I'll just state that for the record. I do have the request if you even need. These were the items that Ms. Christie was referring to that she threw out. There's some, if you want them, I'll give them to you now for the record, and that way you'll see. But what didn't make sense was like toys. There was nothing on the instruction that said you had to dispose of toys. You were instructed to put them in a certain area and so forth so they wouldn't be damaged. And then, they're like a queen bed. It was a request for a queen bed replacement, a Christmas tree, Halloween decorations, TV remotes, jewelry box, things like this. It was all things that didn't seem to make common sense, that they could have been placed or so forth, but asking to be replaced. But on the instructions, there wasn't anything about, removing or anything like that, or that the thermal treatment, because when it hits the air, it wouldn't. And that's your choice. I can give these to you.
Do you have the instructions from?
I could go back, and we have a copy of the instructions online, so I could forward those to you.
I think that would be helpful.
From Bremen.
No, from Bremen.
From Bremen,
Yeah,
yes. So that would be very helpful.
Not a problem.
Okay. Jen, any questions?
And then my only
No,
question.
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you.
How does service request and the request for rent concession, one do with the other? How do you consider that?
In totality,
Just
really.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So- Okay,
That's it. Thank you for your time.
all right. So one more question.
Yep, go ahead.
Do you have a timeline for this window to be completely repaired? I mean, your best guesstimate, whether,
They're
it
coming
could-
back this week. I would say we'd have it done by the end of the month.
by the end of this
Mm-hmm.
month? Okay, so is this an outside company?
It is.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're dependent on,
Yeah, we know
A
them. They're
third party.
national services, and they're also our renovation contractor. So they're here often. It's not, and this is a matter of, expedited importance to us and the resident.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay, I'll entertain, now we get to hear from our investigator. And he doesn't need to be sworn in.
I believe that everything that I became aware of in speaking with the respondent and the complainant, I believe everything that I was presented with has been laid out for you here tonight. And what I will say is there is a large number of documents and pictures that we can look through that were submitted, pictures especially that were submitted by the complainant that we can look through, not all of which we've seen here yet tonight, that are representative of the complaints that she had. And the respondent has provided everything that she indicated that she was going to provide as well, except for, I believe, the receipt for the, is the receipt for the, I'm sorry, the receipt for the bed bug treatment in here, or that's?
The invoice, but if not, I'll make sure you
Okay, very good.
I also asked about the rent and the sewer and the trash.
Correct.
The,
I'll have to inquire about that. How
Okay.
we allocate that, I
Yep.
think was your question.
yep, it's not transparent.
All right. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Jen? You all set?
I think I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Well, I will entertain a motion to table this until our next meeting, which is, I don't have my phone, I don't know. Oh, March 27th, so that we can review the documents and all the information that we've requested, so that we can make a decision.
And the windows, according to timeframe, should be done or mostly done by then. Can we request evidence of that?
Right, that's what I said. We will then have all documents. And if we table this, it's still open so that we can receive the documents. If we close this right now, we won't be able to receive those documents. And I think there's stuff that we need to to
I
have,
just wanted to make sure the new window order was going to be part of it, that's all.
right? Yep, okay, well, we'll find out.
27th, is it March 27th?
March 27th, yes, at 5:30.
Okay, that sounds fine, thank you.
Okay,
Is that going to be the hearing or meeting?
we'll
Hearing
have,
at 7.
we can have the hearing at, we can actually have the meeting, put that on the docket, and then continue our stuff at our deliberation after that. Okay? So, if 5:30 works for both parties? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. All right, then I entertain a motion to table this until March 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right. We will see you on the 27th. We will have all this more information. We'll have time to review the information, and we can make our deliberation and decision then. And then we will give you a written decision after that, okay? All right?
Thank you for consideration.
All right, thank you. Okay.
You bought that door?
Yeah, yeah. If you parked on the back, you can go out this door and down the stairs. Or you-
parked on the top because I wasn't sure.
That's okay. That's all right. All right.
Do everything now, or not? We look through the stuff now.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
No? Yeah, okay, sorry.
That was to table the hearing.
yeah, we just tabled it.
Are we adjourning the hearing?
That's what's next.
We
Yeah.
have to.
Yep.
Yeah. So a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.